You've probably heard of World War I, right? They called it the war to end all wars. Sounds pretty final, doesn't it? Well, here's the crazy part. Just 20 years later, the world was back at it, fighting an even bigger, even deadlier war. So, what on earth happened? How did that promise of peace just fall apart so fast? That's what we're going to dig into.
Yeah, this is the big question, isn't it? How do you go from a global sigh of relief after World War I to another world war in just 2 short decades? It's not a simple answer. It's like a massive, tragic puzzle where you have all these different pieces, good intentions, pure anger, and just worldwide desperation, all coming together to create the absolute perfect storm.
Okay, so to solve this puzzle, we have to go back to the beginning. Right after World War I ended, everyone wanted peace, but the peace they built, well, let's just say it was like building a house on a foundation of sand. It looked okay from a distance, but it was doomed to crumble.
So try to picture it. It's 1919. The world is just broken. Economies are completely shattered. Millions upon millions of people are dead. An entire generation of young men is gone. So yeah, you can bet everyone was desperate for peace. But that desperation, it kind of papered over some really deep, really dangerous problems that hadn't gone away at all. The world was smiling, but it was hiding some serious wounds.
And this right here is a huge part of the problem. The Treaty of Versailles. This was the big document that officially ended the war. But, when you actually read it, it doesn't really feel like a peace treaty. It feels more like a punishment list aimed squarely at Germany. They were forced to sign something called the War Guilt Clause, basically saying, yep, this whole thing was our fault. And because of that, they had to give up land, shrink their army down to almost nothing, and pay an insane amount of money to the winning countries.
So let's just stop for a second. Put yourself in the shoes of a regular German person back then. You see this treaty. You see your country being blamed for everything and being forced to pay for it all. Are you thinking, well, that's fair? Or are you feeling completely humiliated, angry, resentful? That feeling, that simmering anger, that's a key piece of this whole story. Remember it.
All right, so you've got this pot of angry resentment just simmering. Now imagine someone comes along and throws a whole tanker truck of gasoline on it, because that's basically what happened next. A global disaster hit, and it created the perfect opening for some very, very dangerous new leaders to step onto the stage.
And that gasoline was the Great Depression. In 1929, the world's economy just imploded. We're not talking about a little recession. We're talking about total collapse. Think about it. In Germany, 1 out of every 3 people was out of a job. In the US, it was 1 in 4. People lost everything. Their jobs, their life savings, their homes. All that hope from the end of the war, gone. Replaced by just desperation. And you know what happens when people are truly desperate? They'll listen to anyone who promises them a way out.
And that brings up a really important question, right? Why is it that when times get tough, really tough, people start looking for a strong leader? It's because when everything you know is falling apart, you want someone to come in and just take charge. Someone who says, don't worry, I've got this, I can fix it. And often people are so desperate they don't ask too many questions about how.
And, well, right on schedule, those strong leaders showed up. They could smell the fear and the anger in the air, and they were masters at telling people exactly what they wanted to hear.
You know their names. In Germany, you have Adolf Hitler. Over in Italy, Benito Mussolini. And in Japan, it was a group of powerful military leaders who took control. Different countries, different guys. But their playbook was almost identical. They made a simple promise. I will give you back your jobs, I will restore your national pride, and I will make our nation powerful again. If you've lost everything, how could you not listen to that?
And this political system they were selling has a name: fascism. It's pretty straightforward and pretty terrifying. Basically, it means one all-powerful dictator is in charge of everything. You're not allowed to disagree with him. There's no opposition, no free speech. The government controls the country through brute force and fear. If you step out of line, you're silenced. Simple as that.
Just think about that for a second. What happens to a country when people are too scared to speak up? When you can't criticize your own government or point out, hey, maybe this is a bad idea. You lose all the checks and balances. There's no one to pump the brakes. A country can end up driving right off a cliff.
Okay, so this brings us to the final, critical piece of our puzzle. You have these new, aggressive dictators in power. They start making moves. The big question is, what did the rest of the world do about it?
Well, it's like a chain reaction, or maybe like watching dominoes fall. First, Germany starts rebuilding its military and grabbing territory, which was a huge no-no according to the Versailles Treaty. The world kind of tut-tutted, but did nothing. So, seeing that, Italy goes and invades Ethiopia. Then Japan invades China. See the pattern?
Every time one of them got away with something, it just encouraged the others to go even further. So you have to be asking, why? Why didn't anybody stop them? And the answer, honestly, is kind of tragic. The other big countries, like Britain and France, were just exhausted. They were so deeply scarred by the memory of World War I, they would do anything to avoid another war. So when these dictators said, look, just give us this one little thing, and then we'll be happy, we promise, they chose to believe them. This whole policy of just giving the aggressors what they want, hoping they'll stop, it has a name. It's called appeasement.
I mean, we've all seen this before, right? It's the classic schoolyard bully situation. If you give a bully your lunch money to make them go away, do they just say thanks and leave you alone for good? Of course not. They come back the next day for more. And unfortunately, the world was about to learn that exact lesson, but with armies and countries instead of lunch money.
So there you have it. You take a broken peace treaty, add a massive economic collapse, mix in some powerful leaders making dangerous promises, and then top it all off with a world too scared to stand up to them, and that's the road to World War II. It really leaves us with one last really important question for today. Looking at how all this happened, what's one way that we, as regular citizens, can stop leaders from getting too powerful in the first place? Because if this story teaches us anything, it's that paying attention matters a lot.